If your job at a healthcare facility includes disinfecting against viruses, you know prevention is the best medicine. And maintaining healthy spaces starts with a healthy cleaning routine. Grainger's world-class supply chain helps ensure you have the quality products you need when you need them. From disinfectants and cleaning supplies to personal protective equipment, so you can help deliver a clean bill of health. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Follow the money. That's what I always say. You always follow the money.
Yeah. This is Follow the Money with Mitch Moss and Paulie Howard on VSiN.
Here we go. It is Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Mitch Moss along with Paulie Howard, live downtown Las Vegas. Circa Resort Casino is the spot. Big show coming up over the next 3 hours, including Matt Vasgersian recapping the weekend in Major League Baseball in 30 minutes. Tony Rizzo, ESPN Cleveland. A lot going on in that city in 90 minutes. And later on, Chad Andrus from 104.3 The Fan in Denver. So much going on with the playoffs and also the NFL draft in that city as well. We'll get to the NFL draft itself coming up in about 15 minutes. But, Paulie, so many developments in the NBA and the NHL playoffs from yesterday alone, leading into like tonight's action, but also like later on this week. One of which now confirmed within about the last hour or so. Damian Lillard did, in fact, tear his Achilles. So, I mean, just forget about this year with the series. They're now down 3-1, and it's probably over with when they go play Indiana in Game 5 on the road. This now speaks to what the Bucks are possibly going to do moving forward. And that guy who runs the team at GM recently got extended. And I could argue that in any sport, nobody has screwed it up more than that dude in recent years. So they have no chance to be successful moving forward. They're probably going to have to trade Giannis.
I think you're right. Lillard, who's probably out all of next year, is 35 in July and is due $113 million in the next 2 years. Oh. They lose tomorrow. They're 8-point dogs. That would be one playoff series win since 2021. And they are really up against it here, and they're in Suns territory. You know, a lot like Memphis, too, who's not even close and got blown out and swept and said some asinine things after they lost. So I'm with Barkley. I feel bad for the guy. With the blood clot, he comes back. And it turned out to be a disaster in terms of the trade. Now, there was no way of them knowing that you were going to make that trade, and then Portland was going to trade Holiday to the Celtics, right? And how it was going to happen there. But between the moves, and stuff hasn't worked out, and Middleton was cooked, and Kuzma's been a disaster, and Doc Rivers with some of his adjustments or lack thereof, although it worked out in Game 3 with Trent. It's I don't think you're right. They don't have a choice, and they're going to have to move the guy. And I want to see if he asks out, too, and makes it easier, because they're going nowhere fast. The fact that, number one, he's hurt. Number two, he's probably out. Your second best player is probably out for a year now.
Oh, yeah. So, I mean, again, after a championship run by this team and the Nuggets, still alive, tied 2-2, but how those organizations, and I don't mean to beat a dead horse here, but how they have crippled themselves by the lack of roster construction and what they've done post-championship runs to help them maybe advance to another one and maybe even hoist another trophy. Disastrous in Denver and also Milwaukee. So now, do they have any fight within themselves to pick it up and cover an 8-point spread in Indiana when they play tomorrow night?
Well, Doc said they were deflated after the injury, so I don't see why they would respond. Indiana's much better.
Oh, yeah,
it's not
no
close.
doubt, no doubt.
They have depth, and they don't like each other, and the fact that Milwaukee only has a couple guys that can score. So they also have no chance defensively. Indiana can get what they want every single time down the floor, and you see that. And Turner's a good player, and Siakam's underrated, and they have no answer for him. And other than Joker, whose prop is 33.5 now, his point prop, there's just, other than the miracle game from Trent and an unbelievable performance from Porter, who should have been playing more, there's nothing they can do. And Indiana's probably named their score tomorrow.
Why is it that Milwaukee, this is before the Damian Lillard injury yesterday, why is it that they were falling behind so quickly every single game?
Yeah, that's alarming.
Does it speak to how they're just not that good? The paces are so much better. And does Doc Rivers, is he capable of making any adjustments whatsoever or maybe tinkering with the lineups? Now he has to because his hand has been forced because of the injury here to Lillard. But total disaster. And they have that guy as the head coach to boot. Mm-hmm. He just could not have gone any worse.
Yeah. Yep.
By the way, your biggest problem yesterday with the injury was what?
18 minutes to get an update. 18 minutes. Why do we have sideline reporters? What's going on? Great job by the doctors on X to get it right away, too. Grant Hill, that's not an ankle injury. What are you looking at? It's non-contact.
I think I saw on X within 3 to 5 minutes multiple doctors. Now, this is much easier to do when you're not there and you're trying to diagnose from the video, but multiple doctors were in conversation saying it's going to be an Achilles tear.
Yep. Get in the locker room. Stop with the interviews at the end of the first quarter, which are meaningless, and you don't get anything other than cliches and coach speak. And I don't want to hear about the physicality and the rivalry. Go in there. He's the second best player on the team. Find out exactly what it is. I don't have to. Chris Haynes, who has it right immediately, that's an Achilles.
Right. I want nothing to do with the Bucks plus the 8 points.
Right.
They could wave the white flag in the third quarter when they're down by 20. Who knows?
Right.
Do you want anything to do with the Lakers laying 5.5 in their next game against the T-Wolves?
Yes. I think they can come out and respond. The tough thing with the Lakers now is the lack of depth and now the schedule. If they're going to try to do the impossible here and come back down 3-1, they're going to have to go Wednesday, Friday, Sunday. And they're the Lakers, so they'll be playing Friday night and Sunday afternoon again, likely. So that
sounds like fun.
So that's right. So you just had this and you treated it like a Game 7 and you didn't go to the bench, which was odd because you were coming off the Friday night game again, and Luka had what a time to get food poisoning. Oh my God. So he's throwing up all day Saturday, and he decided, I'm going to ride these guys into the ground, and they blow the 10-point lead in the fourth quarter in the series. 105-69 Minnesota. Unbelievable.
Well, so this is how bad it was with the depth for the Lakers last night. J.J. Redick's last lineup change came with 3:12 left in the second quarter. LeBron played the last 37 minutes and 46 seconds of the game, while Luka played the final 33 minutes and 49 seconds. Great tweet there from Alan Horton, who does Wolves Radio. That's all you need to know about the lack of depth that they have.
Well, they also, they're up 10. That's the time where you can sit guys, but he doesn't trust these others and the role players. But there's just so many things you could point to and what happened. And get a stop here. The tough call goes against them with the sky cam, what happened. But you can't blow a 10-point lead in the fourth quarter to tie the series up at 2.
Now, LeBron made some incredible defensive plays late in that game. However, the final minute, I thought he had like 3 gaffes, including what was the shot when you're up 113 to 111 with just under a minute to play from, 28 feet out. That was so unnecessary to take that shot.
Well, you have to give the other team credit sometimes. Number one, this is not a typical first-round matchup. The West is loaded. Denver, L.A., Minnesota, these aren't first-round matchups. These are good teams. And Ant had 43. McDaniels has been great. Naz Reid was awesome. It's just you get all those performances from Luka, Hachimura, LeBron, and Reeves not bad, and you still lose the game. It's just Minnesota's good too. And when Ant goes for 43 and McDaniels and Reid are hitting threes and knocking down shots, Randall's been great too.
Yeah, been really good.
It's just the thing that comes back, the game one, the no-show for game one is looming large now.
Yeah. That's
the thing that got him too. Not ready for the physicality and getting run out in game one.
Well,
so it's not over. I think they'll win Wednesday, but then they're not going to Minnesota with the short turnaround on a Friday night and winning.
Seems unlikely. That the game one, just I don't know what that was. Nobody does blowout, and then tied into Luka getting the food poisoning before game 3. What on earth is that? So now this is what happened at the end of the game, obviously. Great tweet from Rob Perez and what had to go again. They got completely screwed, the Lakers did.
Absolutely.
So they called the timeout because they thought it was their ball and they wanted to advance it to half court. The refs informed the television audience that the Wolves issued their challenge within 30 seconds of the TO. So now it was under review. The challenge was won by Minnesota. Overturned from the out of bounds on Ant to a shooting foul on LeBron. So Ant shoots the free throws, extends the lead to 3. Lakers don't get the timeout back.
That's right.
How dumb is that?
This was put in place because of the Western Conference Finals last year when it happened with Dallas and Minnesota.
Yeah.
How odd is that? So, and then you can't turn the ball over there at half court again. Whether it was Luka not coming to the ball or a lazy pass from LeBron, you also can't turn it over prior to this situation. But that is just, you're right. We're going to get the ball, but if they don't call a timeout, they can win the game.
Yes,
they call
can.
a timeout, and Reeves got a great look, though, too. But then again, what are they going to have in overtime? If he makes that shot, it goes to overtime. They have nothing in the tank.
So on the same day, right, and back-to-back games, this is a problem for the NBA, in my opinion. They break out the Hawkeye technology, and everybody's blown away like, wait a second here. You can actually use this to, go and check a play under review and then make your decision from there. Where has this been the whole time? Nobody even knew, like people who are in NBA media were like, I had no idea they could go to the Hawkeye replay system.
Yeah.
So you had that to determine what that thing completely flipped the end of that game, as we just told you about. And yet, in the early game of the day, clearly everybody watching knew that Josh Hart fouled Tim Hardaway Jr. on the three-point attempt. Pistons at home down by 1. Nope, they call nothing. That's the ball game. Knicks celebrate. And then moments later, the referees on the court, right after the game, admitted, yeah, you know what, we got that one wrong. How can you have that in a 3-hour window take place in your league?
Yep.
The Pistons got absolutely hit upside the head with a shovel yesterday, completely screwed.
We're going to go at it, though. I'm glad they didn't call it. I'm glad it was a no call. If you're going to let stuff go the entire game, and then you're going to call it there to decide it, was it a foul? Yes. But also Hardaway's jumping into him.
That's fine.
And people were infuriated for years with the Harden Trae Young business.
No, I understand that part.
But
how do you have the referee come back a couple minutes after the game and say, yeah, we botched it?
Yeah, that's where the report throws everyone under the bus with the mistakes, too. You've seen it all playoffs long. How many successful challenges do we have? It's like, what are these guys looking at, right? It's like the Atkinson thing. That's obvious. It's right there. Why do I have to use a stupid challenge? How about Bickerstaff using a challenge 5 minutes into the game on an innocuous play? What are you doing? That's another thing, too. Yeah. But you
got to be careful with those.
Yeah.
Have to be.
I know. Oh, they were mad. And it's a completely different series, too.
Of course, they could have swept the Knicks.
Yeah.
Instead, they're down 3-1.
All good points. I will counter and say don't blow an 11-point lead in the fourth quarter, though. That's the other thing. I know, tough look for the league.
Get the cause right. Horrible look for the league.
Yeah, you're right. But they blew the lead. Fantastic day of action, though. It was a great weekend, other than the Heat debacle. NBA playoffs are here. So is the VSiN Killer Sports NBA Playoff Challenge. 15 sharp minds from the world of VSiN and Killer Sports go head-to-head. 38 picks each from the start of the playoffs all the way to the finals. That's a total of 570 picks, all available to VSiN Pro subscribers. They're locked in an hour before the first game each day. Full VSiN Pro access through August 1st. Just $59. VSiN.com/subscribe.
Up next, NFL draft recap, rookie numbers. We have very creative Travis Hunter props. We'll go over some landing spots we really like and rookie of the year numbers that look attractive here on VSiN.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Touch on baseball here, recapping another weekend that was, as the great Matt Vasgersian, longtime friend of the show, joins the program now, and he is on the Progressive Guest Line. Matt, good afternoon. Thanks for the time as always. How are you?
Hi, guys. Good. Limited schedule today, but no less interesting than if everybody was playing. There's some fun stuff tonight.
Okay, so we'll get into that coming up in a second. You were calling the Angels-Twins series over the weekend. I like the Twins a lot on Friday night. It was a terrible schedule spot for the Angels. The players were chirping about it for like 2 days going into it. I don't blame them. I did not know it was going to go that poorly, though, over the weekend. What are we talking about now with how bad this team might be?
Well, I mean, the strikeout thing has to get fixed. And defensively, they're not perfect because they're playing a lot of people in new spots. But when you strike out 26 times over 2 games, as they did Saturday and Sunday, it's more than just, somebody learning how to play center field. And the Twins can pitch a little bit, and Joe Ryan's good. Joe Ryan has killed them for years now. But, there are some things that need to change. I was really surprised that they lost on Saturday the way they did. They just haven't hit. And I thought Yusei Kikuchi was all set up to beat him because the Twins are terrible against left-handed pitching. And it goes to show you can do your handicap. You can think you know what's going on. You can be on it. And then something weird happens, like the 3 automatic ball calls that Kikuchi was levied with for not engaging the hitter on Saturday, and he couldn't finish 3 innings. It was the weirdest thing I've ever seen.
Explain that. Dive into that a little bit more for the audience here who missed it, because that to me sounds like one of the most random sense of nonsense that you're ever going to get, like in a baseball game.
Yeah, it was random. So technically, the hitter is supposed to engage, or the pitcher is supposed to engage the hitter by being with recognition that he's ready and that the hitter's ready by looking in to the catcher. Right? You're supposed to engage with your eyes the catcher, umpire, hitter arrangement at home plate. So in other words, you can't be looking at your shoes and then all of a sudden go into your windup and your delivery and throw a pitch because no one's ready for you. 3 times in 2 innings, Kikuchi was called for not visually engaging with the battery. And one of them came in a full count situation that led Rupka to a run. Now, there were other things that went wrong. He started the game by giving up 4 straight singles, so he wasn't sharp that day. But when you're not sharp and then you've got a rookie umpire behind the plate who's going deep into the obscurities of the rule book, you got no chance.
Yeah.
It's like the deck is stacked against you.
I can't believe that. That's insanity. Well, at least it's not the Colorado Rockies, right? I mean, how bad is this club? And they're on pace to win 26 games and are off to a worse start than the White Sox last year.
Yeah, and they're also on a pace to reset the new futility record for strikeouts by a lineup, which is held by, again, the Twins, the 23 Twins. Remember the Bomba Squad? They had the Bomba Squad, then they had the Punch-Out Brigade. That record's only a year plus old, but the Rockies are on pace to break that by almost 100 strikeouts. It's really sad. Yeah, and you know what? I love Buddy Black. He's a terrific baseball guy. It's a talent issue. They spent a ton of money on an outfielder / first baseman who isn't going to play, and he's got a degenerative back problem now. Talking about Chris Bryant, and there are all kinds of problems. They can't pitch. It's sad. I mean, some of those scores coming out of there are really. It's hard to watch.
Absolutely.
You don't want to watch anybody get their brains beat in like that.
When Freeland and Marquez start, they're a combined 0-9. That's just 2 guys right there. And the Braves, all their issues on the road are $1.75 tonight. What do you make of the Dodgers series now? Huge favorites tonight with May. 13 different pitchers have been hurt for the Dodgers, and it's Cabrera for the Marlins. And the last time he faced LA was the Ohtani 6-for-6 game.
Yeah, 6 for 6 with 10 RBIs. How we doing?
Yeah, I forgot about that. 3 home runs, I think. Yeah.
Yeah, so that's a big part of the narrative there today, and you could play your Ohtani over 1.5 total bases at -110 if you're so inclined. I don't hate that, but the guy that I'm watching in that series is Andy Pages. I mean, what he did over the weekend against the Pirates, including Skeens, he had 2 doubles against Skeens on Friday. 3 for 3 Friday, 3 for 4 Saturday, 4 for 5 with a homer yesterday, including a homer against a right-handed pitcher. Last year, he had terrible splits. He was terrible against right-handed pitching. And by the second half of the season, they just weren't playing him against righties. He didn't play against righties at all in the postseason. This year, he's turning into kind of a matchup-proof guy. So he's got a total base prop today of 0.5. It looks juicy at -140. But, Cabrera's not – we're not talking about Corbin Burns here. And he started out the season on the IL. I don't think he's even stretched out yet because he's only thrown 14 innings in 3 starts. So I love Pages tonight if I'm going to circle a guy in that Dodger game.
Any thoughts on May and how he's been so far?
Yeah, he's been interesting. He had kind of a clunker last time around against a Cubs lineup that is just red hot right now. He's had 2 home starts, and he struck out 6 against Atlanta, 7 against Colorado. And the Colorado stuff, throw it out because they're just such a punch and miss team. And Atlanta was not playing well at the time he faced him last. So I think May's strikeout prop is 4.5. I think that's pretty reasonable given it's the Marlins. You'd have to lay a really big number if you like the Dodgers to win on the money line. Maybe the way to do it is just to play May strikeout prop, Pages over 0.5 total base.
Okay, very good. I love the creativity here. It's Follow the Money on VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Our guest, Matt Vasgersian, MLB Network. What are your thoughts and observations on the A's 28 games into the season? They're exactly at 500, 14-14 overall. 3 games under 500 at home in Sacramento, 3 games over 500 on the road, and they're playing on the road against the Rangers.
Yeah, I think big picture, I don't see a reason why the A's couldn't be considered one of the teams that could be playoff viable in a really weakened American League this year. more interesting than this series, they got 4 at the Rangers, as you said, is what's happening in that new ballpark. We're all kind of trying to figure out what this place is. And as a AAA park, and I think we talked about this on Follow the Money not too long ago, the fact that at AAA it played as a fair, if not pitcher-skewed facility. But I went through the lines and the boxes because I thought I sensed a trend, and I don't know, maybe I'm onto something, maybe I'm not. There have been 9 night games at that ballpark. Almost 70% of the runs in the night games have been scored in innings 1 through 5. And the number would be even higher if you remove this one clunky game where the lousy White Sox bullpen, threw a gas can onto itself and imploded. Without that, it'd be closer to 80%. So I don't know if it's a weather pattern thing. I don't know if it's the way the sun sets, the hitter-friendlier conditions, but most of the scoreboard activity seems to be innings 1 through 5. I mean, they're averaging 9+ runs a game there total, almost 10 runs a game total. And again, so much of the damage has come early. That's kind of a rub to look for when you're playing, totals in that series.
Excellent.
In those series.
Excellent. Panic time. The Baltimore Orioles have the 3rd worst record in baseball.
Yes, it is, because you can't possibly win by expecting your lineup to score 7 to 8 runs a night. And that's what's happening there. They are pitching thin. And I think they're going to be challenged this week and tonight in particular against the Yankees. There are a couple things there that are interesting tonight too, because Ben Rice has been a completely different guy. And not to get too far off your topic, Paulie, but when you look at, smaller, total base numbers. Like when you play a guy over 1.5, you might think that's an easy thing. You're looking for a double. You're looking for 2 base hits. It's not so hard to come by, or not so easy to come by. But if Ben Rice at 0.5, at a half a total base, has a kind of a juicy matchup, which he does tonight, and I'll tell you why I like it too, because his numbers this year against right-handed four-seamers are unbelievable. He's a completely different hitter. So for a guy like that, I think a lot of the lines and props are being written based on his last year's body of work. By the end of the season, you're not going to get him at a half on a total base prop. His expected slugging against right-handed fastballs this year is over 800. He's got an OPS over 1,000 against right-handers in general. He's interesting to me tonight, and I think back to your original question, I'd be really worried if I was the Orioles.
That is phenomenal stuff right there. I'm shopping for Ben Rice stuff as we speak. That's the great Matt Vasgersian, MLB Network. Could talk to you for 2 hours every time that you come on, man. Thank you so much for the time. That was great as always.
Good talking to you guys.
Thanks, Matt.
Be good. There you go. Matt Vasgersian called games for the Angels this weekend, and also MLB Network on top of it as well. So did not get to the which team is he buying right now leading their divisions. I wanted to throw the Tigers, the Giants, and the Mets at him. I think the easy team to buy would be the Mets, obviously. They're leading right now the Nationals 2-0 as they play in the bottom of the second. You buying the Tigers and or the Giants?
Yes.
Yeah.
And the race for most wins in April is awesome. How good this is.
I think the Tigers are going to find themselves in the American League Championship Series this year.
Could be.
Skubal is he's good enough to, my God.
I think
he was untouchable again.
Best home start since the 84 team, I think.
Win, lose next. A 75-1 shot that cashed, and another one was a bad beat. Paulie, details next.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Thanks for the feedback. Bunch of people seeing win totals out there on the Rockies. It's laughably low, as you could imagine. I'll tell you what it is in 15 minutes and how we would approach it. Here, we head out to the Progressive Guest Line. So much to talk about with Tony Rizzo, legend in that great city. ESPN Cleveland joins the program now. T-Man, what's shaking?
Guys, pleasure to be with you. I need to come to the Circa. I need to decompress after the weekend the Browns had. Think about this. On day one, they traded away from Travis Hunter, best player in the draft. Okay, they want their assets. They got a good player in Graham. On day number 2, they selected Dylan Gabriel, and the town went out of its mind. No offense to the kid, nice kid, And in day 3, they took Shedeur Sanders at 144. I mean, it has been a whirlwind over here.
Okay, so did the front office, are they the ones responsible for taking Shedeur Sanders, or was this from above them, the owner coming in and saying, okay?
Mitch, it reeks of, an ownership move. But let me say this. Unlike the first round with Johnny Manziel, the 5th round is, guys, my whole take on this thing, and by the way, I like Sanders. My whole take on this thing is, in the 5th round, you got nothing to lose. If you look at Andrew Berry's 5th round picks, I don't even know if any of them are in the NFL anymore. Okay, let alone on the Browns. So they took a flyer, they traded a 6 and a 7 and moved up and took the kid. Let's see what happens. He clearly missed the boat on the offseason. And I think Dion and Shedeur got humbled this weekend. I do. I think, first of all, Dion started with, I'm only going to let my kid play for 3 or 4 teams.
Yeah.
Then, Shedeur has the legendary thing. He's, dude, you're the quarterback in Colorado. Okay, you want to be legendary. That's great. He didn't work out at the combine. He didn't throw. He didn't run. He didn't. And then, the whole perception is, are you bringing that into your quarterback room right now? These are billion-dollar operations. Michael Lombardi always talked about this. NFL, it's one of the biggest companies in the world, an NFL team, billions of dollars. You're bringing a guy in at the quarterback position that's got to be able to lead, that the locker room's going to respect. And clearly, teams around the league didn't feel comfortable with that.
What's the worst thing you heard about him?
Yeah. Not hard to coach, but takes a while to come around on things. And I think even Dion over a beer would admit, Shedeur, he's very strong-minded. I wouldn't say hard-headed, but, he's got to coach him. It's going to take a lot to coach him. Now, Stefanski does a really nice job with quarterbacks. Flacco's in the room. There are adults in the room. But, guys, I have to say this in defense of the kid. I think he's going to come in here and work hard. As a 5th-round pick, you have nothing to lose. And could he win this job? Hell, yes, he can. It's Kenny Pickett, and Joe Flacco, and Dylan Gabriel. I don't know about right out of the gate training camp. But they're going to give him a shot. At 144, I would have done the same thing.
Okay.
Who would you bet on right now to be starting week 1?
Oh, I waited. I knew you were going to ask me that, Mitchell. It's Pickett. So Pickett was the first, and I know you guys, it's not my plan. It's the Browns. I told you guys when they went and got him, they think 15-10 as a starter, Matt Canada OC, he needs a second chance. Now, Joe is there. The advantage for Flacco is he knows the offense. All the other 3 got to learn Stefanski's offense. Joe flourished in it.
Yeah.
I mean, he's throwing 3 touchdowns every week. So he has a leg up. I would say one of the veterans. And then 2 of the kids go to the practice squad. You could trade. You got a couple assets at the quarterback room, but you're going to need 4 guys. In Cleveland, they play 4 quarterbacks every year. Come on.
That's true. That's true. What did
Come on. What, you don't think, let me tell you this. You don't think Shedeur Sanders starting a game this year? I'll guarantee it right now. If you could bet on that, I would.
You can. I think his number's 2.5.
Yeah, it's 2.5 though. No, yeah. Will he start a game? Yes, minus $2.
Okay. Yeah. Will he start a game? Yeah, yep. I would take that tomorrow. Yes,
okay.
Sir.
Minus $2. Let's go back to Thursday. What did you think, and what was the reaction that they traded the pick? Don't you just take Hunter there and say we're good?
We had a giant draft party at the MGM here in Cleveland, and the people were upset. Everybody asked me. I told you guys the couple days before so Hunter was a lock. Yeah. Apparently, they had this deal in place for 2 weeks. Here's what we didn't know. Here's what we didn't. Hold on, Paulie. Here's what we didn't think would happen. We didn't think Jacksonville would give up a first-round pick next year to move up to take Travis Hunter, and they did. Our whole thing was, show me the team that's going to move up and do it. And lo and behold, Jacksonville wanted to make a splash. 34-year-old rookie GM, the owner, and I'll tell you who's on the hot seat right there, Sunshine. I mean, Trevor Lawrence, he's got to come through now. That's a big piece for him. Yep. That's a big piece for him.
Yep, totally agree. Follow the money, Paulie and Mitch VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. Tony Rizzo, our guest, ESPN Cleveland on the Progressive Guest Line. Will you have to postpone or move your trip to Ireland which would coincide with Game 6 of the NBA Finals. How you feeling about your Cavs?
I'll tell you, the Cavs are a monster right now. Now, let's see tonight. I think, Brian Windhorst is a friend. He grew up here in Northeast Ohio. He watched me 100 years ago when I was the sports anchor on TV. We talk all the time. Hard to sweep a team, but the Heat don't look like. Without Jimmy Butler, they don't look like it. The next series, that's going to be good. I think Pacers-Cavs is going to be a really good series.
Yes,
I don't think that's going to be a sweep.
That's a tough
that's
series.
going to be a good one.
Yep.
It is. But I'm impressed, guys, with the way the Cavaliers, they had a little lull at the end of the regular season. All that was left was the 1 seed. Once they came out in the playoffs ready for business. And I'm very impressed. Remember, they're a young team. They're led by a true superstar, a real classy guy in Donovan Mitchell. And he's the guy that's driving that boat right now. And he's got all those young kids believing that they could beat anybody.
Yeah, the way that they play, their style, how fast they go, how many guys they can kill you from downtown.
Not only that, they can win 5 different ways.
Yeah.
They can win a game with Ty Jerome scoring 24 points.
That's true.
Yes.
They can win with Mobley. They won with Allen 2 nights ago. They can win with Mitchell, obviously. Even Garland can get hot. So they have a lot of ways to beat you. They play good defense. And that's a key in the playoffs. How about what they did with the Knicks and Pistons yesterday? Did you guys watch that game?
Of course.
Yeah, of course.
It was circa 1993. What were they doing in that game? Not calling any fouls. Listen, if it gets down to that, that's the one thing that would worry me with the Cavs. I don't know their physicality. Mobley, Allen, they're such nice, good kids. They wear flannel, guys. Okay, come on. They're nice kids, okay? But when you get into the NBA playoffs, I suspect in the next round they're going to go after Mobley, who's a great player defensively, but not all that physical.
That's a great point because we've been talking about it for a week. They're not calling fouls. Nobody's going to the line, and it has been the midnight. The Celtics are livid. They're like, look what they're letting the Orlando Magic do with their WWE, and you're not calling anything here.
Yeah. Problem with the Cavs is they're so fundamentally sound. But it doesn't affect them like the other teams. Yeah. They're not stanky legging for a jump shot. They're not dribble. They're moving the ball. And I'll tell you what they did Saturday, the passing, and it was incredible, guys. It was so fun to watch. Loving that team.
Sure. I might have to eat this comment. It's unfortunate for them that the Celtics are probably not going to get the Pistons. I think the Pistons would take more out of them than the Knicks might leading into the series if they would get there.
Man.
Yeah, Brunson was the difference in that series. And I know that there were people that thought, who's the kid from Detroit, the young guard? They thought maybe Cunningham. There was a big debate. Who's the best player in the series? It's Brunson. It's Brunson, and he'll carry him through. I don't know. Let's see. Should be fun. But we like where the Cavs are. We really do.
All right, very good. About a minute left. We started draft with the Browns. Let's close there. You told us during the break that you had a nugget here on like celebrity chef Michael Simon. You're great friends with him, but he's piped into all these other NFL players. What did he tell you?
So the chefs know everything because everybody calls the chefs to go to their exclusive restaurants and things. Michael knows a lot of people in the NFL. So we did have a little intel. And Paulie, I told you Thursday or Friday, there's no way the Browns are taking Shedeur at 33. Mm-hmm. They did not plan on taking him, guys. But in the end, whether you think it was the owner or whoever it was, at 144, they're like, let's go. Guys, we haven't had a quarterback here since Bernie Kosar. I mean, as desperate as they are, I don't know. They've got 4. I would draft one every year till you find him. I would draft 2 every year till you find one.
For what it's worth, I like the other skilled guys they drafted. Both running backs.
Oh, yeah,
and
great draft. Yeah. Oh, yeah, Mitch. The kid from UCLA, Schlesinger, Quinshon Judkins, the running back from Tennessee, they did a nice job there. But the quarterback room, Watson's not going to play, but he's in it. He's still on the roster. You've got Flacco, you got Kenny Pickett, you got Shedeur, and then you got Dylan Gabriel.
All right,
How
champ.
about that?
Love talking to you. Enjoy the game tonight. Good luck to the Caps.
See you soon, boys.
Thanks, buddy.
I don't want to overreact, but is next.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
This is Follow the Money on VSiN.
Brandon Nimmo with a 2-run double. Have yourself a day, kid. 4 for 5, 9 RBIs, and 2 home runs, 11 total bases so far for the Mets.
I was rooting for another grand slam.
So was I.
He was up with the bases loaded again.
All right, we head out here to the Progressive guest line. Chad Andrus does a great job in Denver, 104.3 The Fan. Anything going on in that city, Chad?
Yeah, just a quiet weekend, do some spring cleaning, some yard work. Nothing happening at all around here.
Sounds about right. So we talked about this earlier in the show, like where was the national media person who told us before the draft on Thursday, before the draft, right? Like, guys, Shedeur Sanders not going third to the Giants. He's not going 9th to the Saints. He's not going in the first round. A major slide could happen. I'm still waiting to find out, like, where was the national person when we needed him the most? Did you think that was possible, living there and being close to that program? Did anybody in Denver think what happened to Sanders could actually take place?
There was a lot of talk about him sliding, but I think people thought him sliding meant that, somewhere in the 20s, the Giants would trade back in or somebody would trade back in and get him towards the end of the first round, or even ultimately, a Lamar Jackson situation where somebody comes in, steals him with one of those last 2 picks of the first round, so they would have a 5th-year option on the quarterback. But that was the definition of the slide going in, not the 5th round.
Yeah, absolutely. So you were on this from the get-go. You saw an interview he did after they fired Lewis, the OC, and then promoted Shermer. So what struck out to you about that interview about NFL teams aren't going to like this?
Yeah, so it was a little while removed. It was probably 6 weeks, 2 months after, and it was after the season. But he was asked about what happened when Sean Lewis had his play calling duties taken away. It was demoted, and ultimately Pat Shermer came in year 1 of the Coach Prime era. And Shedeur said that his style didn't match what I like to do. He liked a lot of choice routes where the receivers would read the coverage and make their break based on what they saw, and then I had to throw to the same thing that they were seeing. I don't like that. I want to be the one making the decision where they go and where the ball goes. And as soon as I heard him say that, I cringed and I said, the NFL is not going to like that, because every snap in the NFL, the receiver is making a read, the quarterback is making a read, and you're relying on them to be on the same page to do the right thing. And Shedeur doesn't want that responsibility on his receiver. He wants to know where he's going to go with the ball. And the NFL is not going to like that at all.
Mm-hmm. Mitch was right, too, about where's the veteran reporter stepping up and giving these stories and why a guy who was supposed to go top 10 goes 5th round. Give us some of the horror stories you heard about tanking interviews and what happened during the meetings.
Yeah, one big thing that stood out is, he wore a sideways hat to one interview that a lot of people didn't like. You guys had talked about being on the FaceTime call or whatever it was and keeping it on during the interview. The other one that really stands out that I had heard is that Brian Daboll had given him a playbook the night before in a meeting and asked him to go over some stuff and then come in and discuss the game plan in the book the next day. And Shedeur completely whiffed on it, didn't really do the prep, didn't know it, wasn't impressed. And when Daboll pressed him on it, Shedeur kind of pushed back and said, no, this is why I do it this way, and you're wrong, and kind of gave him some flack about that. And there's one source here in Denver that is as good as it gets in covering this league, and he's done it for not just a little while, but decades. Very, very good. And I had heard from him that in his estimation, the Giants had spent more time, money, resources, scheduled more meetings, talked to more people, watched more tape scouting Shedeur than he thought any other team ever had with any other player. They were trying to talk themselves into it, and Shedeur's responses in those meetings absolutely talked them out of it.
Holy smokes. Okay, so having said all that, right, I made the case earlier that this slide can only be a good thing for him, right? And we had a guest on, Tony Rizzo from Cleveland, who said he's absolutely going to start a game at some point this year. Is it a waste of money for people in the audience to bet this kid to win Rookie of the Year, in your opinion?
Yes. Yes, because it's the Cleveland Browns. And look, I heard Tony. And Tony's great, right? And he knows what he's doing. He knows that team. He knows the history. But think about it on the surface. The Browns this offseason bring in 4 quarterbacks knowing that they're probably going to have to cut 2 of them. So that's what you're spending your resources on, your free agency money and your draft capital. You're spending it knowing that we got 4 guys here. 2 of them aren't going to be on the team. Like, how wise is that? And what is that going to be like when rookie minicamp starts and Shedeur walks in there? Because Shedeur, and people talk about him being humbled, his approach is not going to change. His swagger is not going to change. He's going to walk in there and, all respect to Dillon Gabriel. I'm sure he's a great kid, but my money is there's going to be a level of intimidation for Dillon Gabriel when he sees Shedeur Sanders the first time because he knows he's a better player than him on the field.
Interesting. Very good. So bookmakers, fans, and media all had it wrong on Sanders. Do we have it wrong on this Denver-LA series? Denver has home court. Tough place to play. Clippers $1.60 to win the series. I couldn't believe they were down 20 and then came all the way back, and then you had the buzzer beater with what Gordon did. What's the thought here on how this will play out? Series tied at 2.
I'm in on the Clippers, as I have been from the start. I think the most likely series bet was probably Clippers in 6. So I think you're getting a lot of good value if you can find that 1 or 1.5 for Game 5 coming up. The Nuggets are washed, just like the Lakers are. They can play 5 playable guys, if that. Right? That's if Michael Porter doesn't get suspended. That's if Westbrook comes back, fine. But Joker is Joker. He's amazing. Anything is possible. You never want to count the guy out. But when you look at the rest of the teams, right, you have to figure that the Clippers are going to have a little bit of momentum, knowing that they came back in that 4th quarter and knowing that they can win here. It's hard to see Denver winning the way they've won 2 more times.
Okay, and you also think, I totally agree with that, because I think if Denver would come back to win the series, they would get absolutely blasted in maybe a sweep against the Thunder or maybe 5 games. But you think the Thunder, it's not going to be as easy for them as what some people think? Why?
No, I think the Clippers and the Wolves can both give the Thunder a lot of problems. And it's simply because depth of roster, length, and athleticism, the way they play defense. And when you're an inexperienced playoff team and you can't rely on your depth and out hustling people and just wearing them down throughout a game like they would to a Denver, like they would to a Lakers, where it's just going to be inevitable wave after wave. When you're playing against teams that can match that, you're going to run into that when you play Minnesota, especially when you play the Clippers. I think you can definitely be in for a long series there. It's not a given at all that Oklahoma City is going to come out of the West.
All right. I'm glad someone hasn't said that before. That's strong. Very good. Our buddy Chad Andrus on the Progressive Guest Line. Follow the money. Paulie and Mitch VSiN, the Sports Betting Network. How about Game 5 tonight? Another strange series. Colorado's blown Dallas out in 2 games. The 2 losses were in overtime. What do you think now? Also, they don't have home ice, and they're a good-sized favorite.
Yeah, from the Denver standpoint, it's almost the exact opposite of the Clippers-Nuggets series, right? Where you feel like you're tied in the series, but in this one, Denver has control. Denver has been the better hockey team. Mm-hmm. And I think you saw in Game 4 what happens when they're allowed to skate freely and the ice is open and they can play and use their speed and their skill. It's a domination is what it is, because Dallas is grinding down the game. They're mucking it up. When you go there every spring, this happens every playoffs, teams that have to go and play in Dallas, it's bad ice. Guys fall down. They lose the puck. You can't skate freely. That skill, that speed isn't evident. So that's what the Stars are going to do again tonight. They have to play that type of grinded out game, because when it's wide open, they can't skate with the Avalanche, and very few teams can. That's why when I look at tonight, especially when we look at a Game 5 and then a potential Game 7 in Dallas, I'm looking hard at unders. I'm looking at hard at no goal in the first 10, because Dallas has to play that way. They can't let Colorado jump on them again. It's just the situation of playing there and the way they are forced to play to compete. If it turns into, up and down contest, Colorado is going to blow their doors off again, but Dallas is going to make them, fight and not carry it across the blue line. They're going to make them dump and chase. It's the way they have to play.
Yeah. Maybe a look at the first period under as well, 1.5 goals in that game tonight.
Yeah,
bad.
yeah. The one thing I would look at on a positive side is some of the guys that were off to slow starts for the Avalanche are really starting to turn it around. And honestly, as crazy as it sounds, guys, a big part of this is Gabe Landeskog being injected in that lineup and moving up to the second line, right? He's making a huge difference. He made an enormous play in front of the net that wasn't on his goal, on the Sam Girard goal, and it's starting to open things up for other guys. The one guy I would look at for an anytime goal scorer tonight, Brock Nelson was making some huge plays through the middle of that game, and particularly on that Girard goal. 425 for him as an anytime goal scorer.
Very good. I'll take a peek as soon as we're done here. You can follow Chad on X. He's at Chad Andrus, 1043 The Fan in Denver. Thanks, Chad. We appreciate that.
Thanks, guys.
Great job. 6.5 under -130 at DK, under 105 first period as well. And he recommends the no goal in the first 10. Whether you're placing your first bet or you're playing the ponies for years, the VSiN Kentucky Derby betting guide has everything you need to get ahead on Derby Day, breakdown on how to bet on horse racing, which is great for beginners, previews of the Derby and the Oaks, and best bets as well. It drops April 30th. It's yours with the VSiN Pro subscription. Start today, just $9.99. You get your first 30 days with the Derby Guide, every best bet, every host, every guest, and the betting splits in the 24/7 video. VSiN.com/subscribe.
We'll grade our bets from over the weekend and tell you what we're betting tonight and moving forward. That's next here with In Pocket Place.
If you work in quality control at a candy factory, you know strict safety regulations come with the job. It's why you partner with Grainger. Grainger helps you find the high quality and compliant products your business needs to inspect, detect, and help correct issues. And the sweetest part is, everyone gets a product that's as safe to eat as it is delicious. Call 1-800-GRAINGER, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.